then one of the security guards, I guess it's Bruce Wayne's bodyguard, comes over and tells him to stop messing with Bruce Wayne and, like, leave. Once the Joker tells the security guard what his name is, the security guard has that look on his face of, oh no, he knows we need to, like, get him out of here, because the security guard knows that there was something with Thomas Wayne and the Joker's mom. So sorry, it was my coworker. Once the security guard realizes that, he looks at the Joker in the face and goes, there was nothing between your mom and Thomas Wayne. Your mom is mentally ill. She just made everything up. He's not Thomas Wayne's son. But that's to cover it up, because you could tell in the look in his face and the look in Thomas's face whenever he encounters he encounters the Joker again, which in this movie his name is Arthur Fleck. Once he encounters Arthur and he realizes who he is, you see the look in his face as well of, oh no, I need to continue covering this up. But he looked at Arthur and said, if you ever come here or touch my son again, Bruce Wayne, that he will kill him himself. That Thomas will kill Arthur himself. He's continued to completely say how, they continued to say how Thomas and the mom never had a thing, but you could tell that they did with their reactions. But I believe it's because he doesn't want backlash or anything like press because of him basically abandoning his son. And I guess he was probably married at the time, like, hence Bruce Wayne, so cheating as well, so he was trying not to. So he's covered that up for Arthur's whole life. The Joker, Arthur Fleck, did grow up without his father, without Thomas. He had said that he's been the man of the house ever since he could remember, and he's always taken care of his mother, who apparently she has mental issues as well. So on top of her having mental issues, it's also caused him to have more, and it's just not a good mix for the both of them, because it just causes more stress on Arthur. His mother raised him, and so both of them having mental issues, it was kind of a bad mix. The Joker, Arthur Fleck, before he turned into the Joker, it said how he was on about 7 different medications, but they did not seem to be working. I know this because in the movie, at the beginning, he was in his therapy session with his therapist, and he had shown her a book that he has where he puts, like, jokes in it, because he was a struggling comedian, where he puts jokes and thoughts in there. And some of his jokes weren't really funny or things that you joke about. And she goes, basically, like, Jesus, Arthur, it says here you're on about 7 different medications. One of them should be working, right? Like, saying they should seem to be working, but they aren't. So it's crazy. And then he basically stops taking them, and once he stops taking them, he starts acting out as in starting to become himself the Joker. So this causes him to have his strengths and his weaknesses. So it first started when he got jumped, and he was caught with. And so after he got jumped, he went and got a gun for self-defense. And this was when he was still able to be a clown, and before he got fired from that and started spiraling downhill. But he was a clown, and he had that gun on him, and he had went into a children's hospital and was being a clown for them and making them happy, singing doing that hokey pokey, and he was dancing and the gun had fell. So once that gun fell, everyone was like, oh no, and he got fired. Once he got fired is when that rage started coming out, because he used the clown, being a clown, he used that to kind of hide everything. And to get his stuff out. Then to get that out, another coworker. And once he did that, he still had his gun on him, and he was on the subway, and he ended up killing and shooting 3 men that were harassing this woman. I guess one of them was someone big, so this is where it started, where it was like the rich versus the poor, where he was starting to be like kind of a vigilante, I guess, but not a good one. After that, he got away with it because the only thing people had for his description was he was wearing a clown mask, even though it was just makeup, but looked like a clown mask. So he was able to pretty much get away from that, except he had gotten questioned by some cops while his mother was in the hospital, because right when he got back from killing those 3 men, his mom was being rushed to the hospital from their apartment. And so while he was sitting outside of his mother's, outside of the hospital, the cops came up and were asking him questions. And he got away with it. They didn't say anything else. And then they kept going, and he ends up just staying there. And at this time, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, I'm trying. He had his neighbor there with him. Her name was Sophie, and it was someone that he had a love interest in, and apparently they had been hanging out, and she was there comforting him. She'd been on the street with him while he's been walking, just on the street. And then he ended up going back to his apartment and realizing that she was all basically like a figure of his imagination. Like, she is real, but he visualized and just everything of her. Like, she was there, but she was never with him. He had just met her once. And that ties into what I'll be about the theories that I'll be using. He has strengths and weaknesses. Like, one of his strengths would be he has the underclass part of the town in Gotham City supporting him and behind like what he's doing, even though he was being really sloppy about it. That's one of his weaknesses. He was sloppy. He just acted out right then and there. Then another strength is how many people, the more of the underclassmen, they are dressing up as the masked clown, and so it's easier for him to kind of blend in and get away without the cops being able to really find him, because they'll grab the wrong person. And his followers had saved him like in one of the scenes in the clips in like towards the end of the slideshow that I have in here, it shows how like he was in the cop car and they had like hit the cop car. I actually don't know if it showed the part where they should have, but I might have grabbed the wrong one. But it shows where they pull him out and just let him like stay on the ground so he can get up and leave. Another one of his weaknesses, he just acts without planning anything out. Like he ended up on the Murray show, and when he ended up on the Murray show, he was dressed as the Joker, and he was joking about things that, and they even said in the clips I put on here, they show that he should not be joking about what he's joking out. He did act out a little, like before he even sat down, where he had just kissed this man's wife. And then he was just sitting there and he's talking to Murray. He confesses that he's the one that killed the 3 men, and you know, and then he just shoots Murray in the face, and then he just looks around like he's got no emotion, and then he looks at Murray again, shoots him again in the chest. First one was in the head, and then he goes over to the camera and, you know, holds it and was all like, and he had said something and it cut out before he could finish saying it. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he gets caught almost every time, but that's where his followers come in and they are able to save him from him like getting completely arrested. So my theorist is Abraham Maslow. He had created the hierarchy of human needs pyramid. When he was doing that, his studies, he had worked with monkeys to work on monkeys for his studies. And according to George Bowlby, this is one of his quotes from the article I took it from. One of the many interesting things Maslow noticed while he worked with monkeys early in his career was that some needs take precedence over others. For example, if you are hungry and thirsty, you will tend to try to take care of the thirst first. After all, you can do without food for weeks, but you can only do without water for a couple of days. So, yeah, that's according to Abraham. That's part of like his personality theory. So it's just telling like they're like your basic needs that you need, if you like, you need them, so you're gonna find a way to get them. His background is he was born in 1908 in Brooklyn, New York. His parents were Jewish immigrants, and from the book by Ewan on page 203, it says Maslow's childhood was economically and socially deprived, and he was later to compare his position in a non-Jewish neighborhood to that of the first black and all-white school. So he was, he didn't really, because of that, he did not really have any friends, so he spent most of his time in the libraries, studying, reading up on studies, which was putting him to being one of the greatest theorists. He went to the University of Wisconsin, where he got his bachelor's degree and his PhD in psychology in 1934. And Maslow married Bertha Goodman, his first cousin apparently, at age 20, and they had 2 daughters. The article that I had read that off of, saying that it was his first cousin, it said that it was against his parents' will. He accepted a position at Brooklyn College, where he stayed for about 15 years, gained knowledge from Adler, Fromm, and Horney. In 1954, Maslow moved to Brandeis University and became the foremost exponent of humanistic personality theory. He had spent 10 years of his career practicing brief non-analytic psychotherapy. In 1967, Maslow was elected president of the American Psychology Association, the APA, and